Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. This is Z and welcome to Cozee Highlights. I'm 35 and one thing I really spent a lot of time learning is makeup. But I started learning quite late because I didn't put any makeup on my face until maybe I was like mid-20s. And even then it was used to be like a little concealer, a little mascara, and then I was out the door. I didn't know what the word for blush was, I didn't know what bronzer was, I didn't know what any of it was. And in the last 3 years, I've learned a lot and I've perfected my everyday makeup routine to 10 minutes. So let's do it together. If this is your first time watching my channel, if you like what you see, click on subscribe and yeah, I'll share with you my secret for a 10-minute routine to go from this. Alright. Let's get started. The foundation of any great makeup is great skincare. A lot of people have said this and I reiterate it. There is no one size fits all. Sometimes some products are quite great and they work for a lot of people, but they can just not work for some people. So find the combination that works. I find that for my type of skin, I have, I think, dry, dehydrated skin mostly with a bit of like T-zone. And the combination that really works for it is to have a great toner. I use this from Brightening, but you can use any toner that you like. A great moisturizer. This is my current moisturizer. It's the Round Lab Totco cream and a sunscreen. So I've already put my toner, I've already put my moisturizer, so let's put the sunscreen. Sunscreen is great because especially if you find a good sunscreen, it can act as a great primer and then you don't need an extra primer. So I put a couple of fingers and I just apply all over. Whatever is left, I just drag down. I put it on the back of my hand. Depending on the look I want to go for on a daily basis, sometimes I just use concealer all over my face. Sometimes I add an illuminator to my base, just to kind of not super high coverage things, because if I'm going to work, or it's basically what I reach for on a daily basis. So this is the one that I use. This is Tinted Glow Booster from NARS. When I reach for it, you can see it's quite loved. And then this is my concealer. I had a craze at one time of having multiple types of concealers for multiple types of occasions, but then I always reached to the same concealer over and over. So this is basically my only concealer. This is the Terracotta Concealer from Guerlain. It's almost over. So let's go a little more extra today. I'm gonna use my NARS Tinted Glow. It looks quite thick, but actually it applies. So this is what it looks like. And then this is also something I reach for a lot during summer because I like to glow even more. Do this because it's a lot faster. And then I'm already super glowy. Now we're gonna put some concealer. I go by the method from Katie Jane Hughes, who is a famous lovely lady, who is a famous makeup artist. She's just so talented, it's crazy. So what she usually recommends is whatever product you want to put, just put it on the back of your hand first. So I'm just gonna, my concealer is almost over. I'm excited. It's time to buy a new one. These are the two brushes that I use for my face. It's basically the same brush. It's dense, it's short, and these are the two brushes that I use on a daily basis for my complexion. I use this for all over my face, and I use this, which is a little bit more also dense, but smaller for under my eyes and in the creases. So let's start around the face. Katie's method is you just stipple and make sure that the brush is what she calls primed, distributed, and then I'm just gonna pick a spot and start. And My go-to on a daily basis is a really light coverage. I don't want, it's not that I don't want to look like I have makeup on, but I want for this to be as thin as possible because I talk a lot, I'm in meetings, I walk a lot as well to the train station, from the train station, so which means that I sweat, and I don't want this makeup to cake, but not just cake but also to melt and to kind of go away. So this is my go-to, and you can already see the difference between this part of my face and this side. And then I just take whatever is left. I'm gonna add a little bit more because I have dark circles, and if I'm going out for like a dinner or a party or something like this, I would usually use color corrector under my eyes, but if I'm just going to the office or for coffee or something like this, I don't. So we do the same, prime. And honestly, this method really gives the best application because it's so thin. Like, if you would just see this, you would think that that's my skin, which is the point. And the thing that I really like with this method is that you can go heavy-handed, but you can also go light-handed in your other makeup. So I usually compensate this by having a lot of blush so that it can look like I have makeup on, because I also enjoy the feeling and the look of having makeup on. And then I just pick. And you can see it is drastically different, and it's not even because of the lighting. I can just do this and you can see it's really different. So it really works, and I'm forever grateful for her to have shared this method on her TikTok. I learned a lot from her videos, so yeah. So now I'm just gonna take whatever I did here and I'm just gonna do the same on the other hand. And it's very important to tip, 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 rather than drag, because dragging just doesn't integrate the product into your skin. And this is my base. Let's say you wanna hide a blemish. I have this little pimple that is still healing. What I will do is I'll take a little bit of product. And I take my smaller brush. If you have an even smaller brush that is also thick and dense like this that you can use for concealer, you can use that, but I don't, so I usually just use the same brush. And then I'm just gonna go over and I'm gonna leave it for like a second. And then I'm just gonna use whatever in here and just do my under eyes again, because I have very dark under eye circles. And just in the time that I wait for that to kind of set a little bit, okay, so now I'm just gonna tap the excess off, and it's gone. So I'm just gonna blend it a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, you can still see the bump, but you don't see the color so much, and that's what I'm going for. And what I like to do now is, before I apply anything else, I like to go with my setting spray. This is my favorite one. This is the one from Cozee. It's the multi-talent fixing spray. I've mentioned this in my favorites of the year because I think this is, I already have a new one. This is my 5th bottle, I think, of this. To finish this, I'm just gonna use this. And I'm gonna wait for it to absorb. One thing that I kind of learned while I started to do my makeup is, every time I apply stuff on the back of my hands, I swatch something on my palm or whatever, I need to go back to the bathroom, wash my hands before I actually kind of can do anything because I don't like my bottles and stuff to be messy. I get really irked, and I just learned to have like a mini towel. I have a bunch of these. I just put them in the wash every few days. Yes, they get stained, but then I know that they're specifically for this, and then I can just remove all excess and not also stain any of my clothes or anything. Now that it has dried down, I'm very glowy, so I'm just gonna use the momentum and apply my blush. I want everything to be glowy before I set everything up with a little bit of powder. And what I like to do is a tip from Patrick Ta that I found actually makes my blush last a lot longer, is to actually start. I'm gonna do a little bit of a warmer makeup today because of my outfit, with the powder blush. I like to use like a brush like this. There is a little bit more tipped. It helps me with a little bit of a precise application. Again, my makeup is really like a mix of a lot of things, and this is from Alverde, which is a DM brand. It's a drugstore brand, and it's like a multi-balm or multi-blush. It has a lot of different textures, colors. It's a little bit bronzing as well, so I just feel like it warms up my face perfectly when I use it. The stuff, the excess, I like my blush here because I feel like it lifts my face, and also for my shape, for my face shape. So I like to start from where my bone is, my cheekbone actually, and then I just go up. So I just stipple, 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 and then I stop there and I go to the next side and I do the same. Also, when you're holding your brushes, always at the tip. When you do this, it's too strong of an application. This helps for like a feathered kind of look. Again, I learned that from Katie Jean Hughes. And I love to do my little tip of the nose. So one thing I did really quickly is I went over this eye, and I really like to, before I put any eye products on, I like to do this. I just feel like it gives me a little bit of like uniformity in my face. While that kind of sets, I'm gonna do my eyebrows. I use the e.l.f. brow lift. Usually I use the Anastasia one, but I wanted to try this one because everybody and my best friend as well were saying that it was really good dupe. And I just brush up at the top here, and then I like to go diagonally, and then I just do this. Another tip I learned from an influencer I followed is you can go up and then you can just brush counterclockwise, so against the, because you're coating then all of the hairs, and then you can brush them again on this side. Usually I do this first before I do any of my concealer or face products or anything. I just forgot. Go to the next step of the blush, which is liquid or cream or whatever you're using. I like, when I use this powder, I like to use this one with it. This is the Juicy Peng number B02 from Apyu. It's a Korean makeup. It's a Korean makeup brand. It's very corally. I think it goes quite well with this one. An even smaller brush. Prime the brush always, especially with liquid or cream products. You barely see anything, but it definitely lifts things up, right? So I'm just gonna, and then now I just take it a little bit further in, and you can see that it added a little bit of color, which is nice. And yeah, this is my blush then all applied. I'm gonna try this new setting spray because at this point I want to set the blush in so that it doesn't move and it doesn't go anywhere. So And yes, I like to drench my face in setting spray. And I do this even when I used to use expensive setting sprays, because I believe in quantity. Like, you need to apply the product for it to work. So, okay, quite shiny. But before we go on to that, my everyday, I like to have a little thing on my eyes, like something that is like, oh, what's going on? Does she have something on her eyes? And I really like these Age Perfect creamy eyeshadows. They're so good. I love this. It's more on a gold. This is more pink. Okay, so I just like to go on top of my eye like this. They're super malleable, so, and I like to go up here because it always gives me like a feeling that my eyes are a little bit more open. I learned that from Neo It Girl on TikTok. She is mother, like when it comes to makeup and makeup tutorials and hair tutorials and things. She's a source of knowledge. So you can see now it's a little bit more bright. I look a little bit more awake. Now you're probably thinking, do you stay like that? No. I love a pressed powder. This is my favorite pressed powder. As you can see, I've hit pan, which I'm obsessed with, and I love the fact that I'm hitting pan on some things. So I'm looking forward when this is over so that I can buy a new one. But I take a big fluffy brush. I have two brushes actually. I have, this is a little bit more tapered, right? And then I have this one, which is a little bit bigger. So we're gonna start with this. And for every day, even for when I put heavy makeup, I prefer pressed powder over loose powder. It's just less messy. And now we're gonna start with the bottom of the face. I'm gonna do a little bit of, and automatically you see I'm not that shiny anymore. So we're gonna do forehead with this brush. Yeah, and then I take the one that is a little bit tapered and I roll under the eyes, glowy. So there are two things that I do to my makeup on a daily basis that just takes it boom. Number one is I used a brown liner. This is Essence Long Lasting Eye Pencil. I like it. It doesn't give me any panda eyes or anything, and it's easy to use. So go. Yeah, to give me a little bit of an edge. And the second is I always line my lips. I always use stuff like this that is a little bit thicker. It's not necessarily a pencil per se, like, and I just go over the edge of my lip. The thing I like about this is that you don't have to be precise. Actually, a little bit of mess works. So then I do the same at the top, you can see. Then I'm gonna apply a little bit of a lip tint. I just want a little bit more color. This is a Romand Juicy Lasting Lip Tint in number 7. Once I'm done, I really like to go with the final spritz of setting spray, just so that I can bring everything back to life since I've used quite a bit of powder. So and this is the final look. So I generally like take 10 minutes for this, about 10 to 12 minutes. I've actually did time myself before. So when I got the hang of it, then it became quite quick. I know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm going for, and this look is exactly the same thing I do every single time. I just change the colors. And sometimes I will do a little bit of an eye, or sometimes I will do a little bit more of a brow, or like I will spice it up one way or another, but this is generally the look. I hope you liked this video, and I hope that you found it useful, you've learned something. If you have any tips or if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate any support, and if you've liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!